My name is Aaron Ladd, host of the Chiefs Squad Show here in the Locked On Podcast Network. As the ball drops on 2025 this New Year's Eve, there's absolutely no doubt KC dropped the ball this NFL season. Which resolutions need to be made in the new year? That and more coming up in this episode.
And I am JC Pearson, and could this be the last time we see Killer Trav in a Chiefs uniform? We'll discuss that too.
And I'm Darren Smith, of course, with the Chiefs playing in Las Vegas. What's the biggest gamble that the Chiefs will take in 2026?
Chiefs Kingdom, stand up. It's the Chiefs Squad. Everything Kansas City Chiefs every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from Arrowhead Stadium, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Squad up. The Chiefs Squad Show starts now.
Chiefs Squad Show is up and rolling in the midweek, and it is New Year's Eve. Hope you are spending it with friends and family. We appreciate you spending it with us. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Is it the last time we see Travis Kelce in the NFL? We will discuss that as well as his search for some records in this matchup against the Raiders. The youth movement has hit Kansas City. Who's in and who's out, and who could possibly earn themselves a spot on the roster for 2026. Plus those New Year's resolutions, right? It didn't go well for Kansas City in 2025. What needs to be fixed? I can already tell you what mine is going to be, and you can probably already guess it. Finally, the Las Vegas Raiders are the opponent in Week 18. It does not mean anything for either team, but we will break it all down in this episode. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. We see the love, and we remember y'all. We appreciate y'all rocking with us in 2025 when we launched, and we hope y'all join us in 2026 for the everydayers who tap in on every episode in the Locked On Podcast Network, as well as those who make us your first listen. Let's just hop right into it. We've talked about Travis Kelce now a couple of times on a couple of episodes, but now it's Week 18. It's the final one on the schedule for this season for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think everybody said whether or not they think he's coming back or he's staying. Darren, what have you heard? You're our boots on the ground. You're our guy. What are people saying about Travis Kelce now? He was a little iffy on the podium after the last game. What have you heard?
Well, the way Andy Reid is sounding, it sounds like he's going to be back. Now, granted, there's obviously been no confirmation, but just the feeling is still around one Arrowhead drivers that he's going to try to run it back.
What do you think about that, JC?
Well, I can see both ways of it, like I said, but I think he's going to be done myself. I think when he sits back and evaluates it all, what's left, especially after, if they get him these records this weekend, what's left? I mean, really, other than coming back to play with Patrick. He said himself that he's caught plenty of balls from Patrick, so he knows what that's like. And then what's to who's to be sure that next year's going to be better? So does he put himself through all that again? And so I don't think he does. I think he'll be done.
Yeah, and me personally,
5 touchdowns for Travis Kelce in.
No, I was just gonna say, me personally, I'm kind of siding with JC. I think this is the end, but again, the thing is, you can see it both ways. I mean, I honestly believe that he's not going to make a decision until March. That's just how things go when it comes to him, because he may try to test and see if there's any feelings for him in the free agency world, which I don't think he will still jump ship. But be that as it may, I don't think he makes a decision until March, and when it's March, I just think it just depends on how he feels in conversation with Patrick, what Patrick's timeline is, and if Patrick's timeline aligns with coming back by week 1 of the NFL, then I can see Travis returning.
I don't think there's any chance that he goes to another team. I mean, if he's coming back, he's coming back in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform.
Hold on. Right. I know. No, I'm with you, but I'm saying, but he's going to be he will be a free agent after Sunday. So, I mean, regardless, teams might try to offer him a contract. So, I mean, it's just the nature of the business.
I think if I'm Kelce, and also if I'm Brett Veach as part of this conversation, if you are coming back, it needs to be very, very team friendly, bro. You don't need the salary cap money. You got the Hollywood money, your fiance, soon to be wife, who you're going to be marrying in the offseason. $10 million is where I max out. If you're coming back, it's a sweetheart deal. And, we'll play a little bargaining chip, right? You don't have to do the whole training camp. You don't have to go out to St. Joe every single day and do all the padded practices. We'll make sure to keep you on your load management and your vet minimum and all that stuff. But at the same time, you got to help us out as well.
Andy wouldn't have to do that. I mean, Andy would give him that type of rest anywhere where it wouldn't have to be in the sky. He would just do that on GP.
Have those things been discussed? You've been a player for the Chiefs, JC. Were those things discussed, or was it a wink, wink, nod? Or do you even think Kelce would do something like that?
I really don't think that he would do something like that. But once he was back, I can see him in the midst of it, maybe taking some time off. But to say, hey, we're going to do this for you, I just don't see that, because he's never been that kind of guy. He's always been the guy out there right in the mix. Especially in training camp. So I think if he's back, he's gonna be right in the middle, trying to do everything he can do, and that takes a lot, because it doesn't just start in training camp. It starts, essentially
in the offseason in general.
From now, exactly. And so, do you want to put yourself through all that, plus the wedding prep, plus the radio show, plus the honeymoon, plus all of that? Right? There's a lot of stuff going on. So do you have time to really get yourself back in tip-top shape? I'm not quite sure.
But Joe, JC, to your point about all the off-field stuff that he would have to do, that's why I could see, here's the thing. He would still go, I believe, through the rigor of the training camp, just because, because he would want to get in football shape. But I think as it relates to the preseason games, they would only be playing 3. He would be just like Patrick if Patrick was healthy, of course, where he played 1 or 2 series and then you don't see him at all the rest of preseason, and you see him the opening game. So I can see a scenario where they give him the summer to do whatever, because again, OTA is a volunteer work. He may get the excuse from the team, saying to miss the mandatory stuff. Otherwise, he would be in for that. But I can see a scenario where his summer is essentially free, and he's just coming in for the stuff that he needs to come in for. And then when it comes training camp time, training camp will be late July, August. I think if he gets married sometime in May or June, all that stuff would be in the past anyway. Where I can see it, I can see the timelines working to where he wouldn't, he'd be able to get all his personal stuff done. The radio, the podcast stuff, he can do that from anywhere. What I'm saying? But when it comes to just the team obligated stuff, I think outside of the mandatory stuff that he could get excused from, I wouldn't expect him at any OTAs or any volunteer type stuff. I think he would come in for the training camp. I think he'd come in for the mandatory mini camp stuff, and then the
this is supposed to be a leader. This is supposed to be a veteran of your team. If he's setting the example and he's not coming in for all.
Hold on, Aaron. Now you just got to saying, you just got to ask the question, would Andy Reid, give him the load management stuff? So you can't have it both ways. So it's like you say, if it's a wink, nod or whatever, then that's not, because look, especially if it's only going to be 1 year, you want to get as much prep that you can, with whoever's going to succeed Travis Kelce, and give them the opportunity to get the reps, because what you're going. Because again, when Patrick comes back, are you just going to throw Patrick in there, or are you going to put him on the practice squad and make him ramp his way up? Or you just going to throw him in there when he's ready to play?
Yeah, but check this out too. Talking about the load management and sitting out and not showing up and all that. Shows past, and you've been a big proponent of a new offensive coordinator, which is a new system. No, right. But I'm saying, so you've got to learn
new
that
language,
system,
new verbiage,
new everything. So how much time,
But JC, here's the flip side. If Andy Reid is still calling the plays, it's still going to be his playbook. It's going to be the offensive coordinator learning his playbook. And essentially just reverberating what Andy Reid is saying. So so that's I'm not trying to push back on that, but I'm just saying, as long as Andy Reid's calling the plays, then I think he's okay, because Andy Reid's not going to change up the terminology after all these years.
I've pounded the table for this in previous episodes, and I'll do it again.
Run the ball.
The Chiefs, no, not on this topic. That's coming up later in the show. The Chiefs, if they really want to enter this new era, this new dynasty 2.0, you don't need Travis Kelce for that. I understand he's your leading receiver this year, and there's some extenuating circumstances behind that. but you've invested in tight ends behind him. You like those tight ends behind him. Not saying that he can't still be productive, but if he's going to come in on this I don't want to say half-hearted, but, if he's going to come in on this 1 foot in, 1 foot out basis, we might as well just cut bait. You can be a legend. You can come in on the Ring of Honor next year. We don't need to do the waiting time. And we can just go ahead and turn the page. Like JC said, if the goal is to go out with a Super Bowl, that's not guaranteed next year. You need to just go ahead and say, let's just go ahead and cut bait.
Nah, you can't. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, JC.
Well, he's earned the right to go out however he wants to go out, first of all. But who do you replace him with, though, Aaron? That's better than him right now.
You just drafted a tight end last year.
If he was that good, he would be number 2, first of all. He's not still not number 2. Exactly. So, is Noah Gray better than Trav?
No.
I know.
So there you go.
Is Wiley better than Trav? No.
But we also don't know. It's an incomplete grade right now. We really don't know.
Oh no, if they knew why, if they know. So if Wiley was all that, he would be number 2 and not Noah Gray out there running routes, catching the ball. So right now, as it stands now, Wiley is not ready. I don't think Noah Gray is that guy to take every snap, for 18 games plus everything else, so I understand what you're saying about, hey, he's older, it's time to make a switch, but do you make a switch just to make a switch, or are you getting better with that switch, or are you getting worse with that switch?
Aaron, I will give you credit. You are the host of the show, and at times, I don't know if you're trying to just, trying to be the antagonist, because I know for a fact you cannot believe what you're saying when you talk about Travis Kelce, the Chiefs just need to move on. If you had somebody better than Travis that was pushing him out the way, yeah, okay, we see your point, but that ain't what's happening, Aaron, and you know this.
We stir in conversation here. Y'all mentioned records.
Exactly
I have 2 records here that Travis Kelce could possibly be in reach of week 18 against the Raiders. With 10 more yards, Kelce would be the fastest tight end in NFL history to 13,000. He's currently played 191 games. It took Tony Gonzalez 232 games to get that. I think it's safe to say Kelce will reach 10 or more yards. Here's the other one, which is a little tricky. He was recently the second player in NFL history to reach 6,000 yards after the catch. That's Yak. And he trails Marshall Faulk by 88 yards for first in NFL history. I think the first is more likely. 88, to me, in my opinion, that's them telling Oladukin all week, yo, feed 87.
That should be the only goal. That should be the only goal of this game, is to get him those records. Do you really want to win the game? Yeah, and what else is it? And then you're going to take a look at some other guys. So the only real goal is, hey man, let's make sure we get him the records in case this is it for him. And we can care less about everything else.
Hold on. So let me answer Aaron. How close is he? No, Aaron, how close again is he to these records that he needs to get?
10 more yards for fastest to 13,000, 88 to 6,000 plus Yak, which has only happened with one other player. It's Marshall Faulk.
Okay, well, obviously,
you want to push this cat out. Wow.
Well, yeah, right.
We need to turn the page on that, Darren. We need to turn the page. And
how you gonna evolve, man? How you gonna evolve?
JC, he keep talking like that. Folk gonna be trying to turn the page on the host or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
He had to try to get. Hey, don't let the Swifties catch on to this. So I'll say this: the 10 yards, yes, he'll get. The 88 yards. It's interesting because, of course, we'll talk about the game and the Raiders, of course, they got an 80% chance if they, 100%, obviously, if they lose the game, they'll get the number 1 pick. So, so now here's the thing. Now, JC, as a player, you're not trying to tank. You're trying to go out there and play and do your thing. So the flip, saying, so if you're, and one Andy and the head coach, I forgot, Pete Carroll, they're not going to have some wink, nod, and we're going to let Kelce get his stuff. And then, because here's the thing, you don't want players getting hurt. And I was I think we were talking about it in the chat that if you try to force feed him, you could potentially get him hurt because players are going to be gunning, they're going to be gunning after him, saying to take those shots at him because they know that you're going to be trying to give him the football. So, I mean, the 88 yards, if it comes in the flow of the game, yes. I just don't know if it will, simply because I don't know if Oladukin is going to be able to put them type of numbers up.
Right. And it's crazy because, I mean, he didn't look for him at all last week until the last drive. And then he ends up, with 4 catches on that drive.
Yards total, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he just looks for the check down a lot, but who knows? But to me, that should be the only goal, is to, let's try to get him where he needs to be. Obviously, other guys have incentives. Like I saw Kareem has some incentives that, if he plays like 50% of, which and
that's the thing too. I don't know. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's 50% of this particular game snap that he has to play, or where he's at as it relates for the entire season. Because
I think they said this game.
Okay, that's different. But again, that's gonna coincide with what we're going to talk about in the next segment. That's called a handoff. I'm
Look
passing
at that.
it to you, Aaron.
That's a perfect team. Oh my goodness, Darren Smith in his bag this New Year's Eve.
Right. Hey, Santa must have been good to him. He's kind of happy today.
Oh, stop.
Huh?
He's crazy.
It's worth noting Travis Kelce has only reached 88 yards or more in 2 games this season. He'll try and do that and make NFL history in this Week 18 game against the Raiders.
Football.
When we come back, we will discuss the youth movement for Kansas City. You're listening to the Chiefs Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. NFL season is in full swing, and there's nothing like being at the game, the crowd noise, the energy, and cheering alongside other fans. Watching at home is great, but being in the stadium just hits different. The frustrating part has always been, though, getting tickets, waiting in queues, dealing with logins, and watching prices change right at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NFL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. This is not just an ad, folks. I actually used the Game Time app for Monday Night Football between the Falcons and the Rams this past week. I found great ticket options almost instantly and secured mine. The app is incredibly intuitive. Browsing, comparing, and buying tickets took just minutes. One of my favorite features is being able to see the view from my seats before buying. I did exactly that. So there are no surprises. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today and get back to being there live. We are back in on the Chiefs Squad Show in the midweek. Aaron Ladd, JC Pearson, and Darren Smith previewing Chiefs versus Raiders in Week 18. The youth movement for Kansas City. We were chatting about this in our pre-production meeting. Who's actually going to play for it? Look, it's Week 18, right? So I don't know if those veteran guys, I mean, they're out there playing for pride, love of the game, incentives. We were not naive there. I have one name circled on who I want to see a little bit more. I want to hear y'all names as well as far as youth movement for Kansas City. This is your opportunity to get those guys some reps, live bullets, see who can necessarily fit the scheme and what you're possibly going to be bringing back for next year. Darren, is there anybody you potentially have your eye on in this one as far as young guys for KC?
I do, and unfortunately, I got to go with 2 of them. And so one is, I think we've all talked about is Brashard Smith, but again, with Kareem Rush needing to get 50% of the snaps, what I'm saying? And the flip side is, this potentially, in my opinion, would be Isaiah Pacheco's last game. How do you?
Are you reporting that? Are you reporting that?
No, I said my opinion. My opinion is I believe this is going to be his last game. Now, I ain't gonna lie. I think it's a fact, but I'm not gonna put it out there because I still got to deal with the man. So, but I said it respectfully because again, Andy Reid was asked again today, and shout out to Herbie Tiopi, our colleague. Asked Andy Reid about Brashard Smith if he's gonna play or well, he was asking about Dameon Pierce, but that's the other thing too. Is Dameon Pierce going to play this weekend along with he was also asked about Brashard Smith. Does he see him as a wide receiver? And we talked about this the other day. Do you see him as a wide receiver or as a running back? When Andy made the comment about him needing to kind of streamline and getting certain kind of shape, and then they asked him for a comparison, and Andy couldn't think one. I'm sitting thinking like, well, we had Shady McCoy's teammate, no, not Shady McCoy, but the guy from Pittsburgh who was Pittsburgh. Le'Veon Bell, who was
Le'Veon, but Le'Veon's a lot bigger. I mean, Brashard needs to get bigger. No. I get that. But I'm saying he was a running back that can line up at wide receiver easily, and Kareem Hunt could too when he was younger. But I'm saying, but Le'Veon up until his last days, I guess, with Kansas City or even with the Jets, you can line him up outside with no reservation. So if you're looking at Brashard Smith like that, are you going to play him on the outside? And of course, the other player is Jalen Royals. I mean, he's had snaps as it relates to blocking stuff, but we don't know what he looks like in this offense. I mean, you drafted him to be, essentially another Rashee Rice or someone like that. So I like to see what he can do, and I want to see what his hands, pass catching and stuff like that. So those are the two players that I would like to see, get some snaps. But Andy's not going to give him the snaps over the quote unquote, incentives that some of the players have to get, like a Kareem Hunt, because you owe Kareem Hunt, 50% of those snaps. So, yeah, in relation to Brashard Smith, I don't know. Right now, he's definitely not big enough to carry the load out of the backfield. The guy that, he kind of reminds me of is kind of a Dante Hall type who was a receiver, and then they made him a running back, and that just didn't work out. You can line up back there and run gadgets and that kind of stuff, but you're not going to make a living getting handed the ball between the tackles. And that's where I kind of see him. I think they should work him more as a slot receiver and use that quickness and see if they can, make him a more of a slot guy than a running back, because that kind of fits his body type. But, obviously, they're going to try to put some weight on him in the offseason to see how that goes. But, that remains to be seen. But Jalen Royal, you gotta see what you have there. Damian Pierce, you got to see what you have there. There's a lot of guys there, and in terms of the secondary, we've seen Christian Fulton have a good game last week. You want to see him back that up again. And let me say this, I ran into that young man yesterday in the gym by himself, working with the trainer on his own. And, and that was real impressive that, he came off a good game. He could easily, feel good about that game and say, hey, I had a good game, and, I'll just rest up till we get going again tomorrow, which is today. But he was out there lifting, running, working out on their day off, getting ready. So, that's what you need to see, guys that aren't resting on their laurels. So, we want to see him. You got to see what, let Noel Williams. I try to run all those guys out there, because you're going to have to get rid of somebody in that secondary and put Jalen Williams out there. He hadn't played. Now he's played here before. He's more of a special teams guy to this year, number 2. But you got to see, do you like him? Do you not like him? Is he just a special teams? There's a lot of guys out there that they need to take a look at.
Shout out to JC, because JC had that little soft, rich flex. You know what I'm saying? He's at the gym. You know what I'm saying? With some of the Chief players. Of course, that's above our credit card membership privileges. So shout out to JC for that little flex he put out there.
Bro, I didn't say what gym it was. So
it wasn't Planet Fitness. I know that much. It wasn't no $10 a month. I know that much.
Wow, man. Yeah, Happy New Year, bro.
Let me comment on y'all. Let me comment on the two guys you mentioned. Brashard Smith has added something to the punt return game and kick return game. I've seen him out there. We've been begging for the special teams unit to give you something, flip the field, make a play, make it easier on the offense. This is before Mahomes went out. I've seen 24 back there giving you a little juice. He's somebody, you give him the ball in space and he can make moves. I agree with Andy Reid. He does need to be a little bit lighter, a little bit fatter in the back end to be able to run between the tackles. But
you knew this when you drafted. I mean, and I'm saying, but this is the problem that I have. Like, you scouted this guy, and you knew this before you drafted him, and you had all off season to do, to do just that. So to wait till week 18 to dimension this is like, bro. So what have y'all been doing with them all this time?
Also, the Jalen Royals things confuses me because they gave him the first snap of the game last week, or was that against Tennessee? They're like, yo, that was the signal to us that, hey, maybe they are trying to give him a look. Maybe since there's nothing to lose here, give him more reps. Nothing came of that. I don't understand what the loss is here with giving him snaps. JC, you jumped off the guy I wanted to mention. It's Noah Williams. He had 8 tackles, 3 tackles for loss in week 17 for KC. The elephant in the room here as we talk in the offseason is what's going to happen with Trent McDuffie. I think everybody here on the panel thinks that he'll be back, whether it's a tag, whether it's a deal, whatever. Maybe sign and trade is something that could possibly happen with shades of L'Jarius Sneed. If that is to potentially happen, you got to see what is in the cupboards right now at defensive back. And Noah Williams has given you some pop. I don't know if they're going to play the same exact position, same exact role. We know Spags is possibly going to be jumping around in his name, be interested in some of these head coaching jobs this offseason. Noah Williams is a guy at that defensive back room who, if you trusted to this point, trust him again in this week 18 game and see what he can give you against the Raiders.
Hold on, JJ's for years. I do want to say they picked up Trent's 5th-year option, so he is technically going to be on the contract now. Whether or not you trade him or whatever, that's.
Is he going to play under that 5th year?
Well. I mean, you either play or you hold out, one or the other. So, of course, you get traded. So, but I mean, at the moment, he is technically under contract. So I just want to make sure because I know you said something about. I think he's something yeah. So I just want to make people know he's under a 5th-year deal come next year.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't think he plays under that because if it's I'm not going to play and having the leverage and the status that he has right now, I'm going to demand a longer term deal.
What if he's coming off an injury though? That's the
yeah, but still,
I get it, but I'm saying, but that's the side that that Brett Veach is going to tell, like, bro, you injured. Right. So
but what I'm saying is who I am, what I do. Either you want to sign me to a longer term deal or trade me, but I'm not going to play on this one term, 1 year deal essentially. And what if I get hurt? Now I'm really messed up. So I don't think his representatives will allow him to play on that 5th-year option with nothing going forward. So, that's going to be a decision that they're going to have to, put some dollars towards and make a decision on what they're going to do in that backfield. And they can't keep both of those starting corners with the dollars they're both going to demand.
I agree.
It's interesting to see KC try to embrace a youth movement. This is a team that is extremely veteran laden. I mean, we've kind of rode this core now for 2 or 3 years of guys who you trust and vets who have been around the league. If we're entering this Dynasty 2.0, sure, Darren, I'll put the hat on again and be the antagonist on the Chiefs Squad show. You got to do things a little differently. I understand y'all ride the wave the way you want to, and it's been successful. The league has changed. The league has caught up. The league has adapted. Now it's your turn. It's like chess, right? If somebody makes a move, you got to make a move. And you got to read and see potentially what's next. These young guys are people you invested in. You know what I mean? We're not talking about taking players off the street. These are guys you believed in through the scouting process. Now you actually got to put them into play.
But are they any good? Just because you drafted them don't mean that they're any good, or better than what you have. The bottom line is you hope they are, but you invested in these older guys too, or the guys, in front of them. Now, everybody has a time frame, and that's what you have to decide is, whose time, and you'd like to do that sooner than later, a year early than a year late. That's the decision that they've got to make.
Darren, final thoughts before we go to break on KC's youth movement and possibly getting some young guys playing in week 18 against the Raiders.
I mean, I think they'll play. I just don't think we're going to see them. I think it'll be more so the second half. I don't know whose job is going to be for the Chiefs to, monitor players when it comes to their incentives or whatever. But like I said, I mean, for us to think that Bashar Smith is going to take a majority of the snaps and running back or Jalen. No, I'm serious. I think it's going to come down to, how close are these players to some, again, I don't know how long technically Kareem Hunt has to stay in the game, because Kareem Hunt, it seems like, because we can't say he just has to play the first half, because it may depend on the number of snaps. So, I just as much as we would like to see it, I think Andy is going to be more loyal, obviously, to the veterans for them if they have incentives that they can reach. Because again, think about it. We just had here talking about Travis Kelce and trying to get him those stuff. So again, the more you try to do with Kelce, you might be, negating somebody else's snap, incentives and stuff. So
But typically,
all plays out.
Although they know that typically they don't, unless it's one of their, favorite guys, they're not concerned with getting a certain guy to.
No, I get that.
Yeah,
I get that because Andy was asked about that today.
A lot of times they will not allow a guy to get to incentives.
They cheat
to save the money, so they can do that. They've been known to do that too, and teams all across the league have been known to do that. So, they know where everybody is in terms of incentives. Trust me. And sometimes they're.
Did that ever happen to you, JC? Were you ever close to an incentive and you got robbed?
No, they never did that to me. But I know there's some guys that they did do that to, that needed a couple catches or needed a certain yardage, and they would take them out the game and not even play them. And so a lot of times it's really obvious.
And Aaron, I don't remember. I can't remember if you were here during the COVID season when they played Tampa Bay, but I remember like going into week 17 or whatever, Chris Jones needed like a couple of sacks or something. They wasn't allowed to play, and I remember I got in quote unquote trouble because I was asking Spags and somebody else about it, and they called me, "Dude, you can't be like, man." Everybody knows, and then of course Adam Schefter reported, that week, and I'm like, so y'all got mad at me, but Adam Schefter reports stuff. So I just don't know. Again, to JC's point, because they're like you. I think, now this is my opinion, I think that they'll make sure that if Kelce is close, Kelce will get his stuff. But Kelce, it's not incentive, it's just record stuff. But I do think out of all the players, they will make sure that Kareem Hunt gets his incentive. One, because I think his salary stuff is low enough to where, and they just feel like he's been that model citizen since he's been back. I think that they will do the solid for him. Anybody else, I don't know, because I just don't know what the numbers look like. And to one more point about what JC was saying about the thing with him, thing is, make the plays earlier in the season so it don't come down to the last game to where you got to worry about getting your incentives, because because Chris Jones should have been having like 15 sacks. You don't have to worry about trying to get 8-12 sacks in Sunday's game. It's not going to happen.
8-12 sacks.
Right. So if you're, like someone like Nick Bolton, I don't know if he has some like a tackle incentive. He leads the team in tackle, so he probably has it, or you probably close to it. So again, it just, to me, it's like if you do what you're supposed to do throughout the season, to where your record reflects it, you don't have to worry about it in the last game of the season. And again, if you're extremely close, yeah, and now if Patrick was healthy, then Travis would probably get the record on the opening drive, But again, since you're gonna kind of have to rely on Oladukin, I don't know, man. That's just the part I don't get.
All right, let's take a break here on the Chief Squad Show. When we come back, we'll discuss some New Year's resolutions for Kansas City in 2026. Stick with us. We'll be right back. We are back in on the Chief Squad Show here on the Locked On Podcast Network on New Year's Eve. Hope you are doing well. Appreciate you joining us. Darren Smith, JC Pearson, and Aaron Ladd previewing this Chiefs versus Raiders matchup. It is the dawn of a new year, new beginnings, turning over a new leaf, doing things you didn't necessarily do in the past year, putting yourself first. We're trying to figure out what the Chiefs need to do to make sure that they're in the playoff picture next year, as opposed to looking at draft boards. We'll go around, we'll offer our New Year's changes, New Year's goals for Kansas City. I'll kick it off because it's very obvious, and it's something that needs to be said once again. Get ready for it now, because it's going to be a full offseason of this for me. The Chiefs need a real and efficient running game in 2026. Currently, net rushing yards per game, Kansas City is averaging 108. That is good for 23rd. That's bottom half of the league. It's not good enough. I don't think the talent is good enough as far as overall in the room, as well as Kareem Hunt has played and beat our expectations. I agree with you, Darren Smith. Isaiah Pacheco is not the guy and is probably not going to be brought back in 2026, who is going to step up in that unit? There needs to be something else to help this offense. It can't just be 15, 87, and Rashee Rice out there every week. The league has caught up to that. You have to have an effective run game that allows you to run play action, where the linebackers actually bite on it, where you're not getting 3 yards in a cloud of dust every single time. As far as New Year's resolutions for 2026, I want to see a run game for Kansas City that can win you ball games. That's all I'm asking.
And where do you get that though? Do you get that in the first round, or do you go get a veteran?
You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that for a running back because again, I mean, when they drafted Clyde, of course, it was at 31, but but now Clyde and Jeremiah Love, I'm just saying,
a little different.
Yeah, it does hit a little different, but here's the thing, because I think there are national reporters who were still presuming that the Chiefs might try to do something to bring in Breece Hall, but again, to me, Breece Hall is coming off of a 4-year of rookie contract, so he's going to want a big money deal. And the thing is, if you commit to Breece Hall like that, you have to be, to Aaron's point, you have to be committed to running the football, or to have him again. When they had Kareem, it was his rookie year. Patrick was a rookie, but we had Alex Smith starting. So so that was one of those things where it was easier because you were protecting Alex Smith. Then then the next year before he got kicked off the team, you saw that mix of what the offense should look like, but we had a bad defense. We had a horrible defense that year that lost to Brady in the AFC Championship game. So look, I don't know, man, because as much as I would like for them to have a good running back, I just don't know. I don't know if you want to spend the money, the cap, to get Breece Hall, or to utilize draft capital to draft for Jeremiah. Because even if you draft him, you have to be committed because he's a first-round draft pick, and you have to make sure that he fits within the realm of your offense.
Name me the last 1,000-yard rushing running back that we've had, and when was that?
Kareem Hunt.
When?
1990s. No, 2017. I'm sorry.
I know he old, but not that.
No. 2017. 2017.
Prior to all the Super Bowls, right?
Well, it would have been 2018, but a little video footage came out.
But throughout the Super Bowl run, we've not had 1,000-yard running back, right?
Yeah, I think Pacheco came close. I think maybe one of his first 2 years, but I think he got in.
Yeah.
So I'm finna look now.
Do they really spend that capital, veteran guy or early round draft pick for that guy when we don't really use that guy like that?
Again, I'm with you. I'm
right. Right.
So that's why I say the scheme has to be part of it. It can't just be talent. The scheme has to evolve as well. And whether that's up front, whether that's the offensive coordinator, it can't just be the talent. I think talent is part of the issue, but I'm not going to fully put it on those guys. I think a lot of times they're being put in bad spots. Obviously, this year, you're kind of an incomplete grade with all the changes and injuries that have gone on along the offensive line. But I don't remember the last time I seen a creative run game. They kind of punted on that and changed the short pass game into the run game. It's just got to all be rethought. As a whole New Year's resolution, everybody has to own a piece of the pie and say, we need to get better at this part of the offense. We don't have to stay here. There's got to be other New Year's resolutions that y'all think. And Darren, this was actually your idea in the group chat. Do you have any other New Year's resolutions for KC in 2026?
Yeah. Get your boy back to the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm going to keep it simple, I'm sorry. But to lead up to that, because this will be Matt Nagy's last game, I hope that they bring someone in that, and it probably won't be Eric Bieniemy, even though that's what I would want. And of course, I'm going to make sure
give it to him, Aaron. Give it to him.
There we go. Hey, Chris Jones, Eric Bieniemy, we back to back.
Hey, look, at least I'm consistent, okay? But I almost think that you need a good cop, bad cop. And to that point, I think Andy needs to sit back this offseason and reevaluate his, especially on offense. Well, that's where they need the most help at, his offensive staff, because your wide receiver coach ain't wide receiving with these wide receivers. Your running back coach ain't running backing with these players. And so I think that and Andy Heck, even though he's done a great job over years with the offensive line, I mean, there's only so much work that you can do. So I would hope that, Andy kind of falls back a little bit on his loyalty, which I get. Andy's a loyal guy, and I respect that. But you also the play. I mean, you owe it to your players and you owe it to your coaches that you have to put the best people in place that can bring the best out of these players. Because look, I've come to the conclusion that our wide receivers are overrated. I mean, and Xavier Worthy, he's fast, but that's all he is. Rashee Rice, everybody talking about he's a top five wide receiver. I never saw that, and to me, he didn't have enough games to I guess to walk around like he was the top, one of the top, because again, he didn't come on until the latter part of his rookie year into the playoffs when they won it, and of course he was injured after the second or third game last season, and then he had the 6-game suspension this season. So he really had like a lot of game film that shows that he's a top five, that he needs to be defended as such. I mean, we talked him up and we talked about the speed with Hollywood and everybody else, but yeah, that's what I feel like that they need the most is they got to get some new coaches that can bring the best out of these players. That would be my New Year's resolution.
And I would go on the other side of the ball because they've got to be able to get to the quarterback. The way you win these days is by affecting the quarterback. You can have all the cover guys you want in the back, but if the quarterback has enough time to throw, somebody's going to get open. So the way you win these days is you've got to get to the quarterback, and they've got to get somebody that can do that consistently without having to blitz and bring 5 and 6 guys. So I'm saying, do you still rock with Chris? So he's had an up and down year with that salary. Do you still rock with you still rock with Karlaftis after that contract you gave him? Could you possibly trade him, knowing that he had a down year and he's really too young to have a down year like that, really? But those are 2 big money guys up front. You got to get better up front. And I mean, you gotta get some guys up front defensively, no question.
32 sacks on the year for Kansas City. That is tied for 21st in the NFL. I absolutely agree. When KC brings 4, they got all day. They filing taxes back there.
So Aaron, so to the point, and this kind of going back to the last segment, if you're the Chiefs, would you utilize your pick for a defensive lineman or what? Because that's
I would.
That's a good conversation to have. It's instead of a running back.
I would, because he's a guy that you're going to get a lot of value from right away if it's the right guy, obviously. And then now, obviously, you pair him inside with Chris. Hopefully now Chris doesn't have to take the double teams all the time. Hopefully this young stud guy can do that, and then maybe that frees Karlaftis up some too. I don't know, but whatever it is, George should have had a better year. And I like the kid. I like George a lot, and I think he's a really good player, but I think he had a down year, and now you have to wonder, did the money, affect his, affect his intensity and his, or is he going to come back? Who knows, come back better.
And I'll say this, because if I'm because I do like what you talk about, JC, going D-line. If I'm Brett Veach, there's only 2 or 3 teams that I'm scouting for defensive linemen. That's Georgia, Ohio State, and maybe Alabama. Like, I mean, let's
Well, that kid from Miami can go too.
Because I'm watching game. Yeah, Miami. So I mean, but between those four schools, to me, if you're going to spend a first round pick on a D-line, you don't go no further than those 4 schools, because again, I mean, look at the Eagles. Hell, the Eagles, half their damn defense is filled with Georgia players. Yeah. So I mean, and look what they did to Kansas City last year in the Super Bowl. So I mean, because to me, those are the type of players who are coming from an NFL style program, at the college level that's already playing at a high level, during these college playoffs. So to me, that's where I would go. So I do like your point of view, JC, about where they should probably go in the draft.
Well, thank you, Darren. I appreciate that.
Hey, look,
he is in a good mood today. I don't have a problem. I don't
have a problem giving. Giving Grandpa his compliments.
Okay. There you go. Okay, now I got you.
I got it.
Okay.
But that was a good point. No, because again, because
you act like that's the only good one I made all year.
No, it's not.
He's all excited about that one.
I'll be fair. I'll be fair, Jason. You've had a few. You've had a few.
Oh, man.
But I do like it because when we're thinking about the draft capital and how this team may look again, because to me, they gotta get down to the studs on this team, both sides of the ball, and do a thorough examination to see where things went wrong at. And like you said, with the defensive line, I mean, we didn't get nothing out of Jones or call off to the season. So perhaps if you put somebody else there that's a dog, it may push them to to play at a higher level than they did this last year.
6 sacks for George Karlaftis, 5 for Chris Jones entering this Week 18 game. We preview Chiefs versus Raiders on the other side of this break. Final segment here in the midweek Chiefs Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. Aaron Ladd, JC Pearson, and Darren Smith previewing Chiefs versus Raiders, the final game of the 2025-26 regular season. It is worth noting, I thought this was interesting, the Chiefs 5-0 against the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium since it opened in 2020. They have outscored the Raiders 165-96 over that stretch. Also included in this, the Chiefs won Super Bowl 58 at Allegiant Stadium as well. I was there. Darren Smith was there over the San Francisco 49ers. Some good history for Kansas City in this venue. Not that this game has any stakes attached to it outside of the draft. Darren, what does Vegas tell us about this game? I know you tapped in over there.
Well, Vegas tells us that, the Raiders are going to do everything to make sure that the Chiefs win this game. First and foremost, because the Raiders want that number one pick. So the Raiders don't care if they lose 2-0. They just want the pick. So Kansas City will win the game. I'll get you the point spread in just a second. But pretty much, this could possibly be Pete Carroll's last game as a head coach. So that's another.
Should have never came back.
Just got there.
I mean, money is money. He wanted to keep coaching, so I can't be mad at that man. And the Chiefs in this game are minus 5.5 points, so they're 5.5 point favorites in this game. Which again, if Patrick was healthy, it'd probably be a 2-touchdown type of ball game. But Patrick probably wouldn't even be playing. Well, he would be playing just to get players their incentives. So I don't know. This is going to be an ugly game. I doubt if this game will be as exciting as the Christmas night game where it was 2013 for the Broncos that actually went down to the wire where the Chiefs had a chance to play a little bit of a spoiler position with them. But, I just think that the Chiefs will do just enough and the Raiders will help them do just enough to win the ball game.
Well, I think, a lot of these guys are going to play hard because they're playing, they can care less about draft position. These guys are worrying about careers. And
the Raiders probably got some players on there that got a few incentives as well. But the thing is,
question.
But the Raiders have also sat out Max Crosby and a whole bunch of other players so they can kind of tilt the weight towards Kansas City. We're putting them on IR, keeping players out of the game. So either they can't get their incentives or so they just don't get hurt.
But the guys that are playing on both sides, not only are they playing for incentives or whatever, but, they can care less about next year's draft position because they don't even know if they're going to be on the team or not. So they're trying to put some good video out there so that, hopefully the team that they're on sees their value. But if not, then they can shop that around to some of 30 of the other teams. But these guys aren't going out there saying, hey, we need to, if we lose, we're going to draft in this position. Now, the coaches in the front office obviously know that, and they're talking about that. But the guys out there, because what you put on video, regardless of the situation, is your resume. So when they're looking at that video, they're not saying, oh, well, they were out there trying to lose because they wanted the number one pick. No, they're saying, hey, this guy wasn't making the plays. And that's why those guys on both sides, when they have the opportunity to go out there and whatever they put on video is their resume going forward.
And one last thing before we bring Ryan in is that Pete Carroll could also play the role of spoiler as well. He could actually win the game because if people remember Lovie Smith in Houston, it messed up the draft stuff for Houston.
It happened in New England too. I think what was it? Was it New England?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the very last game, the former coach before this guy won. I think he won the last game, and that messed him up from getting the number one overall pick. So, yeah.
Our guy Ryan Tracy from the Daily Show. Ryan, what are your thoughts on this Vegas team?
Apologies. Fighting some power issues here tonight, so I appreciate you. Ryan Smith, I'll take it.
You get fined. There's no excuses. Locked on, no excuses. NFL, no excuse. So we're gonna have to fine you. Yeah.
I got a fund. I got a jar. We're gonna be fine. I love where you guys took the conversation because it's the whole spoiler effect versus what are you really trying to accomplish. And at the end of the day, evaluating the talent you have, I think, is paramount. If it leads to a win, it leads to a win. I don't think there's anything else to do than try to get as many guys on the field as you can to get a fresh perspective on what they can do together. And honestly, I think without the stars on the field, without all of them anyway, it does reveal a little bit more about, hey, what do you feel like maybe has been showing you all year in practice that he can throw you in this game when he's asked to step up? That's what I'm hoping for.
We talked to Noel Williams. We talked Jalen Royals. We talked about Brashard Smith. I know y'all did a Daily Show episode on Pickens. Is there anybody you would love to see get some extra burn in Week 18?
Man, all those guys. Jeff Bassa, like, how are you going to align him? Is he actually a linebacker in your eyes? Or does Spags and the whole staff see that like they have to shift? Is Dave Merritt being like, hey, give me another safety? I want somebody else that can play in the box, but it has maybe a little bit more run fit to him, something like that. Like I do think there's a hybrid role for Jeff Bassa in the future, but I want to see what they commit to and how they deploy him in particular. He's one of the guys, and I want to see Norzad on the offensive line. I want to see what he can bring to the next level against competition.
And to that, I need to see more from Oladokin. Anybody could really do what he did last week. The numbers were barely there. I need to see him be able to push the ball down the field. I need to see him be able to take command of this offense and drive them, put some drives together, some throws, and, make some checks and push the ball downfield. So I think he needs to prove himself that he's worthy of being that backup.
We also talked New Year's resolutions, Ryan, for Kansas City. Mine was as predicted for an efficient run game. Darren asked for a new offensive coordinator. JC Pearson.
No. New offensive staff that could push the play, not just a coordinator.
A whole overhaul of the offensive staff is on Darren Smith's wish list. JC was asking to get home with just 4 and to make some changes along the defensive line. I think all of those really could get KC back into a prime position for a Super Bowl. Is there anything you have on your New Year's resolutions list before we get predictions for this game?
Honestly, for me, it goes all the way up to the leadership in Clark Hunt. I want them to spend some time in front of the mirror. What have you done? What assumptions have you made that have put you in this position? Because I do think there are a lot of assumptions going into. I think there's a lot of narrow game planning, expectations for specific players in specific roles that has led to a lot of plan B, C, D. I think we're on the plan Z 7 at this point. You know what I mean? And I do think that is not just on the players, not just on the position coaches, but all the way up to Andy and, quite frankly, up to the ownership of this club. Like, you have to be able to roll with the punches better than we've seen you do at this point. And I think assumptions are part of the problem.
Kick us off with your prediction for this one. I know you wait until Friday and super secret.
Yeah, but I got you guys because I'm waiting. This is what happened. So I see a lot of fire coming from the Raiders because there's pride. And whenever these teams are going to get together, you're going to bring that, right? And I do want to see a little bit back and forth with the number of younger guys on this field. I think there's going to be opportunities for some chunk plays in both directions. So I think this might be a little bit higher scoring than many people think that it's going to be, because I think there'll be some blown coverage. I think there'll be some run fits that just evaporate into thin air. So I see the Chiefs putting up a good fight. And in the end, I think one play might determine this game. I see it 21-20 KC.
Darren, what you got?
Well, I thought it was going to be, but I still, at the end, I still see the Raiders losing. I think it's, boy, they're going to be trying. We can't see them score more than 13 points. I'm going to go 13-10 Chiefs.
And I think I'm going to go 16-9 Kansas City.
I will go 17-14 Las Vegas. I think both of these teams want to lose as badly as possible, but Geno Smith, who I absolutely
think they can score 2 touchdowns.
Hold on.
Absolutely dog Geno Smith.
The Chiefs moving up one. Hold on, the Chiefs moving up one spot is not going to kill them. So I don't see that happening.
I dogged Geno Smith the last time we previewed the Raiders matchup. He's sneakily been better. 65% completion percentage, 165 yards or more, and a touchdown pass in 4 of his last 5. This KC secondary has shown some leaks in the past few weeks. I think the young guys get some burn, as we mentioned, and there's no need for KC to win this game. Vegas reluctantly backs into a win in week 18, in my opinion. It is New Year's Eve, folks. We're going to get out of here a little early. Does anybody have any New Year's? Y'all got black eyed peas and collard greens waiting for me, Darren? What you think?
No. I'm going to be resting. I can't speak for nobody else. I'm resting these next couple of days. I still got to work on Friday. So I'm going to get off of here, watch me some college football, watch me some NBA, do some sports betting tomorrow while I'm watching college football games, and I'm going to work on Friday.
Some black eyed peas and cornbread. What's up with that, Ryan? What's the significance of that? Do you know?
I really don't know, because I never cooked any of them. You know what I got? I got a ribeye and a glass of whiskey in my future. So that's all I got, fellas.
The Chief Squad show.
The old time,
The Chief Squad show is live 30 minutes after week 18 against the Raiders. First, it'll be the Daily Show. Ryan, Matt, Derek, and Chris Clark, and we will follow behind. It is the last week of the regular season. We appreciate y'all rocking with us, but we will continue through the offseason. 2 episodes a week here on the Chief Squad show. Until then, stay safe. We appreciate you joining us.